Xia Min, a top student, was forced into a dead end when she crossed over. Being chased, harassed, fired, and losing jobs. However, academic achievers are academic achievers, and once they recover, they will take on the challenge with a domineering aura. Quickly seize the skillet with both wisdom and courage as a life-saving straw, and troops for the enemy, earth for floods. Smash men and scumbags women, with system upgrades, squeezing out the sunshine avenue in the narrow gap. Motto. This girl not only looks beautiful, but also lives beautifully. Gradually, people's private discussions also shifted. The loose finger that was twisted by the machine was connected by Dr. Xia. Master Lu fainted from a heart attack and was rescued by Dr. Xia. Dr. Xia is treating patients and serving dishes. The factory director's wife sprained her ankle and neck, causing pain and sweating. Not only did she refuse treatment, but she also poured a basin of cold water over it. The factory director's wife abandoned her responsibilities in vain, and Dr. Xia ignored her beard. She worked day and night shifts alone, not only not feeling exhausted, but also more energetic. Colleague Tang Wenxiu. Dr. Tang. A surgery that no one in the country dares to perform, Dr. Xia has successfully performed it. Finally, Dr. Xia can fly alongside you. Tang Wenxiu said, I have to settle accounts with her. We agreed to fly together, but why did we cross the line while flying? Tang Wenxiu has a prominent reputation in the circle, as a werewolf who can save people by picking up a surgical knife and hit people by swinging a nunchaku. Encountering Xia Min, the moment his eyes collided, he didn't want to pass her by. Strong women, strong men, sweet pets, era literature. Keywords of the novel. 80. Dr. Tang's pretty wife is too powerful, no pop-ups. 80. Dr. Tang's pretty wife is too powerful, download the complete TXT collection. 80. Dr. Tang's pretty wife is too powerful, read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Encounter. Help. 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 The mournful cry for help approached from afar. Looking for reputation, what caught my eye was a young girl with fried dough twists braids and purple plaid clothes. She ran desperately, shouting for help while looking back in panic and fear. A few meters behind her, a tall man with a slanted yellow backpack was chasing her with a cold and shining dagger. He cursed and said, "Kill you. Fuck you. You're so damn dead. You're so damn dead." Seeing the man chasing after her, the girl panicked and crossed the road. During the rush hour of the evening after work, vehicles on the main road came one after another, and the flood discharge was average. The girl shuttles through the cracks of the speeding vehicle, which is worrying. Fortunately, she crossed the road and shook off the man chasing her. Perhaps it was a matter of sacrificing one's life, or perhaps thinking that the girl couldn't run away, the man with a knife didn't cross the road. He stood on this side of the road, staring at the girl, waiting for the traffic lights. Across the street is the wall of a primary school, and the girl climbed up the wall over a meter high without even thinking. She wanted to climb over the wall and escape, but due to nervousness and panic, she fell off the wall. The back of the head landed on the ground, heavily hitting the stone path under the wall, motionless. Oh no! I'm afraid this girl might have fallen to death. Pedestrians on the road ran towards the girl one after another. All of this, the man with the knife can see clearly. The green light cleared, but he didn't move his steps, just looked at the girl lying on the ground from a distance. He furrowed his brows, his eyes streaming with an elusive expression. Suddenly, the girl got up. Get up and run, running very fast, completely different from the way you just came over from a heavy fall. Yeah. You're pretending to be dead while riding a horse. The man with a knife quickly chased across the road. The dog jumped over the wall in a hurry, while the person hung on the beam in a hurry. Seeing being chased after, Xia Min jumped onto the back seat of Tang Wenxiu's bicycle while riding home in a hurry. Before Tang Wenxiu could react, her trembling body pressed against his back and her arms wrapped around his waist. A trembling voice said, "Help me. My partner is chasing me. You take me on a journey, shake him off, and I'll come down." Tang Wenxiu turned around and glanced at the pedestrians behind him. The trance is when a young man is chasing his car. With a few forceful kicks, he asked, "Are you a partner?" His name is Xiao Lijian. I want to break up, but he won't do it. Saying, "Break up will kill me." I was scared and hid everywhere, but he still caught me. Xia Min's lingering fear didn't subside, and her voice trembled. She had just crossed over and had never been in a relationship before. Suddenly, an ex-boyfriend chased her with a knife, which really shocked her. In her past life, she was a reliable academic achiever and a top scorer in science in the college entrance examination. Coming from a medical family, she volunteered for a bachelor's and master's degree program at a top medical university in the college entrance examination. I just passed away infected with a super virus before I even started college. After all, the top student is a top student who reacts extremely quickly. At the moment when the original owner's information seamlessly connects, she realizes that she is in danger. So a series of escape actions were carried out cleanly and efficiently. Next, she needs to grab Tang Wenxiu's life-saving straw. Upon hearing her account, Tang Wenxiu's eyes were filled with contempt towards the man holding the sword. If someone wants to break up, they just don't like you anymore. Is it interesting to cling on and pester them? Damn it, you're embarrassing a man. Can it be faster? Afraid of being caught up, Xia Min's arms tightened again. Don't worry. He can't catch up, his voice echoed into her ears with the whirring wind. Feeling that his cycling speed was not slow, Xia Min finally felt a little relieved. Different eras, different relationships, a different era, a different life. Era writing is actually very beautiful. I hope my friends like Shijuan and the female and male leads in the works of Outing. Wishing everyone a pleasant reading experience. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Is so stunning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 is so stunning, what's your name? Xia Min asked. She wants to repay others in the future. Tang Wenxiu. Where do you work? I'm a doctor. Tang Wenxiu slowed down his pedaling speed. Thank you. My name is Xia Min. She blushed and withdrew her arm wrapped around his waist, grabbing a corner of the back seat of the bicycle. You're welcome. Where is your home? I'll take you back. His voice is very pleasant, and his standard Mandarin pronunciation is clear, somewhat like the voice of an announcer. Xia Min said with a melancholic and sorrowful expression, I haven't been home for half a month and dare not go home. He comes to my house every day to find me. So. Where are you planning to go? After a moment of silence, he asked. Xia Min shook her head and said, I don't know. He has dodged his classmates and relatives' homes, and he has searched for them. There is nowhere else to go. He has completely lost his sanity, and he doesn't attend class anymore. He just keeps looking for me like a crazy person every day. So, you're not working either. Tang Wenxiu sighed. I just returned to the city from the countryside and haven't reported to my workplace yet. Xia Min was the last group of educated youth to go to the countryside and also the last one in the entire commune to return to the city. So what are you going to do? Tang Wenxiu stopped the car, rested one foot on the ground, and turned to look at her. At the moment of eye contact, his heart was pounded violently by something, accelerating uncontrollably. The girl is gentle and reserved, with a clean and fair melon seed face without any blemishes, curved eyebrows and almond eyes, and pure eye waves. Not only beautiful, but also a gentle girl like a little bird. In an instant, there was a feeling of searching for him thousands of times in the crowd. He broke up with Li Xuanli because he didn't like her flamboyant personality. Li Xuanli's expressions of love made him feel dull, too unrestrained, too naked, and too subtle. At this moment, the girl's apricot eyes under her eyebrows were melancholic, with a hint of fear hidden in the sadness. It's only heartbreaking to see. He cursed the girl in his heart for being a scumbag, but he could really be ruthless. You have the ability to win people's hearts. Tang Wenxiu looked down upon that man from the bottom of his heart. As Tang Wenxiu turned around, he almost blinded Xia Min's eyes. How handsome. Not only handsome, but also full of heroic spirit and vigorous energy. So, where are you going? Tang Wenxiu asked again. He had decided that no matter where the girl went, he would send her there. He must safely deliver her to the place she wants to go, otherwise in case of an accident, his heart will not be at peace. Xia Min looked back but did not respond. She really has nowhere to go. She didn't dare to walk away now, feeling like Xiao Lijian had 1,000 miles of eyes. No matter where she went, he could find her. She doesn't want to die again, but she can't succumb to Xiao Lijian's lewd authority. She can only hide until he regains his sanity. Can you take me to your house? I have nowhere to go. She mustered up the courage to say this sentence, her voice so low that she couldn't even hear it herself. Before saying this, she had also hoped for superpowers such as spatial systems to appear. If that's the case, she won't be afraid of Xiao Lijian and won't ask him. But not really. There's nothing she can do, she can only rely on the man in front of her. It's just a chance encounter. It's too abrupt to say such things, and it's very embarrassing for the other party. Of course, it is also easy to be rejected. But what can she do? If Xiao Lijian hides at her doorstep, she will be dead if she goes back. Therefore, she murmured at least 100 times in her heart, thanking him, and even his 8th-generation ancestors, before she gathered the courage to speak up. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Take me to your house. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Take me to your house. She, whose life is on the line, needs to grasp this life-saving straw. Otherwise, it is very likely to die by Xiao Lijian's sword. Tang Wenxiu's powerful magnetic field and overwhelming momentum were felt by her. At this moment, only he can bring her a sense of security and save her from fire and water. She can see very clearly. Of course, she also saw that he didn't seem like a bad person, otherwise he would have gone out of the wolf's den and into the tiger's den. Will he take her home? Why doesn't he respond? Xia Min is anxious and uneasy. After pondering, shamelessly probing, are you married? If he gets married, he won't take her home. Of course, if he gets married, she will also give up her thoughts. He remained silent, his eyes fixed on a nearby residential area, pondering something. Where do you live? Are you living with your parents? She asked again during this gap. Yes. He finally responded to her. She quickly said, then take me to your house. Stay overnight, I'll leave tomorrow morning and go to the train station. Are you hiding out of town? He turned to look at her and asked. She shook her head and said, no. I wanted to go back to the countryside to collect my files, but I didn't come over. I should have gone to collect them long ago, I didn't dare, I'm afraid he might block me at the train station. You're scared out of your wits. He's not Sun Wukong, he doesn't have such great supernatural powers. He squinted at him, his mouth curled up, and gently smiled to soothe her. She shook her head repeatedly and said urgently, no. He can find me, he can really find me. He's like having eyes for thousands of miles, he knows wherever I go. Don't be afraid. I'll take you to the station tomorrow morning. His voice was not loud, but he spoke decisively. He will be working night shift tomorrow, and he happens to have time. She looked up at him, unable to believe it. He smiled slightly and nodded. Lift your legs and step onto the bike, come on up. It's almost my house. She smiled and sat on the back seat of the bicycle. He rode with her to a nearby residential area. Park your bike in the bike shed in the community and take her into a 3-story building. This small building has only 2 households. He stopped before entering the door with his left hand. This is my house. Before knocking, he pointed to his entrance door with his finger. She nodded and whispered, "Thank you." Knocking on the door, it turned out to be Li Xuanli who opened it. It has been several months since we broke up, and Tang Wenxiu didn't expect her to be at his house. "How did you come over?" Tang Wenxiu's displeased expression and tone added to Li Xuanli's heart. Li Xuanli swept a pair of hostile eyes towards Xia Min. Xia Min lowered her head. "Are you a girlfriend?" Li Xuanli quickly turned her gaze to Tang Wenxiu. Tang Wenxiu ignored him and turned around, holding on to Xia Min's hand at a loss, and walked straight into the room. "Tang Wenxiu. You like the new and dislike the old. You heartless person." Li Xuanli cried and ran towards the living room, almost colliding with Tang Mu who walked out at the sound. She immediately threw herself into Tang's mother's arms, crying bitterly. Tang's mother watched her son bring a girl home and guessed that she must be the new girlfriend her son had found. Seeing a girl's extraordinary temperament, it is determined that she must have been born into an extraordinary family. Her son chooses a spouse, and she advocates matching the family, which she has instilled in her son countless times. Although her son is difficult to control, she believes in the subtle influence. "Otherwise, my son accepted." I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in my heart, wanting to laugh and try to suppress it. Li Xuanli is feeling sad, how could she smile? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Don't leave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Don't leave. Tang's mother's name is Ling Yun, a senior physician and expert in general surgery at the second hospital. Proficient in the diagnosis and treatment of breast diseases. Her hands are more effective than medical instruments. She uses palpation to check breast cancer, with an accuracy rate of almost 100%. Not only did local patients queue up to seek medical treatment from her, but even patients from other places came in droves. Hang her expert account at least 3 days in advance. Ling Yun not only possesses superb medical skills, but also has a humble and intellectual nature, with extremely high emotional intelligence. At this moment, although she was satisfied with Xia Min, she would never show it in front of Li Xuanli. So, he nodded at Xia Min as a greeting. Then gently pat Li Xuanli's back a few times to comfort her. Tang Wenxiu settled Xia Min down on the living room sofa and handed her a cup of hot water. Then he went to the bathroom. As he passed by Li Xuanli, he stopped and said calmly, "I already have a girlfriend, let's all be well together." He wants to make her stop thinking, he must make her stop thinking. Because he will never accept her again. Then he went to the bathroom to wash his face and hands. When I returned, I held a warm and damp towel in my hand. Walking up to Xia Min, he handed her a wet towel and said, "Wipe your hands and face." Encountering Tang Wenxiu's ex-girlfriend, Xia Min felt a bit embarrassed and whispered to him, "I'm sorry. I better go back." He shook his head and said decisively, "Don't leave." At this moment, Li Xuanli's cries of grievance echoed from the living room. "Tang Wenxiu. Did you have a conscience to let the dog eat? Am I not good enough to you? What did I do wrong? You kicked me away. Auntie. You must make up your own mind for me. I have no fault. It's all Tang Wenxiu who looks at the mountains and sees the beautiful ones, so he dumped me. Auntie. I'm so wronged. Woo-woo." Li Xuanli arched into Xia's mother's arms, crying even harder and harder. Xia Min couldn't stay any longer and stood up and said, "You're busy. I'm going back. Thank you." The kindness of saving lives will definitely be repaid tomorrow. He grabbed her arm and said anxiously, listen to me, don't leave. She knew he didn't trust her to leave, so she pretended to smile lightly and said, it's okay. My dad is at home today, and Xiao Lijian dare not make any mistakes. Where does she have a father? When the original owner was a few years old, his father passed away due to illness and had always been dependent on his mother. Xiao Lijian, this scoundrel, is also bullying the lack of men in their family, which is why he keeps pushing forward and causing endless trouble. Now her mother is not at home either. A few days ago, her mother couldn't bear the disturbance and hid at a relative's house in another city. Well. Wait a moment, I'll see you off. Tang Wenxiu saw that she insisted on leaving, so he went to get his coat. No need. There's a bus. She finished speaking and headed out. Walking up to Tang's mother, she politely said, Auntie. I'm going back, Auntie, goodbye. Ling Yun nodded and said, Wenxiu, please send it off. Ling Yun also hopes that his son can leave home temporarily, otherwise Li Xuanli won't stop. The summer evening breeze is cool and refreshing, but Xia Min's heart is tormented. She doesn't know what to welcome her back home with. I don't know if I can still see the sun tomorrow. The man's fierce waving of a dagger has been deeply imprinted in her mind. Xiao Lijian, who felt like he was crazy, would surely be angry and wait at her doorstep. When he saw her come back, he might have cut her 1,000 times. But if she doesn't go home, where can she go? She searched her mind for possible places to go. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Pursuing a Best Friend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Pursuing a best friend. She thought of the original owner's best friend Chen Wei. Both of them were classmates from elementary school to middle school, whether they were playmates or neighbors. Chen Wei's family used to live on Qiaobei Kaisher Street. Later, her father was promoted and their family moved out of the Qiaobei shantytown to Qiaonan. Xiao Lijian once went to Chen Wei's house to find Xia Min and threatened to warn her that if he dared to take her in, he would even take care of her. The original owner didn't want to implicate his friends and never went to find Chen Wei. At this moment, with no other way to go, Xia Min decided to seek help from Chen Wei. She said to Tang Wenxiu, I'm sorry to trouble you again. Then take me to the number 16 bus stop. The number 16 bus can reach Chen Wei's home. However, when Tang Wenxiu rode past the number 16 bus stop, he did not stop. He looked back at her and said, Tell me, where do you live at home? I'll take you straight home. She anxiously said, No need, it's very convenient to take the 16th bus. He didn't stop and asked, Move forward, right? Speaking fluently, the car has already left the bus stop for a distance. She had to tell him Chen Wei's address. Thank you. Then take me to the vicinity of Xia Min and Baozi shop. That's my classmate's home. My home is too far away and I won't go home. Okay. Tang Wenxiu agreed, not accelerating the speed, but choosing a stable road surface and riding steadily. That's because there are only 2 stops, so there's no need to rush. In addition, Xia Min took his second-class ride this time and didn't go to grab his waist. She just grabbed the edge of the bike's back seat with her hand to balance, and a jolt could potentially knock her down. The journey was not far, and in just over a dozen minutes, he rode to the front of Xia Min and Baozi's shop. Stopping the car, stepping on the pedals and landing on the ground, he turned around and said, We're there. Which building is it? That's it. First floor. She jumped out of the car and pointed to the building diagonally opposite the Baozi shop. Then bid him farewell and walked towards Chen Wei's house. He parked his bike at the entrance of the steamed bun shop, locked it, turned around and chased after her, I'll take you there. She stopped in her tracks, with a warm smile on her face, and softly said, It's coming soon. You haven't had dinner yet. Hurry up and go home. After finishing speaking, run a few steps and run to the front of Chen Wei's house. When she saw the figures of Chen Wei and her mother through the window of Chen Wei's house, she breathed a sigh of relief. Entering the hallway, knocking on the door and shouting excitedly, "Chen Wei. It's me, Xia Min." However, there was no response. Continuing to knock on the door and increasing the volume, the door still did not open. I knocked several times again, but the door still didn't open. She understood now, Chen Wei was afraid of starting a fire and avoiding her. She doesn't blame Chen Wei. Xiao Lijian has threatened Chen Wei, so it's right to keep her safe. So, where are you going now? Go home. Let's go home. She no longer relies on her relatives and classmates to help her. She knows that no one wants to cause trouble, and everyone is willing to live a peaceful life. Turning lonely, ready to take the bus home. However, as soon as he walked out of the entrance of the building, he saw Tang Wenxiu standing at the intersection with his bicycle in hand. Seeing her walk back, he raised his arm and waved towards her. Her heart heated up, and tears almost welled up in her eyes. He didn't leave, he must be worried about her. Speaking of which, they just met by chance, but he has been helping her all along. Quickly walking up to him, "Why didn't you leave?" Tang Wenxiu shrugged and looked at her with a smile. "I was worried that there was no one at her house, so I waited for a while. Come on up." After saying that, he lifted his leg and stepped onto his bicycle. She responded and sat on the back seat of his bicycle. The body gently attached to his back, like jumping into his car for the first time to escape, blocking his waist. Suddenly, my heart felt much more at ease. At this moment, he is in her heart like a family member. He said, "You can take me to a nearby bus stop, and I will take the bus home." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The original owner is beautiful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Good gathering, good scattering, and talking about he. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Good gathering, good scattering, and talking about he. In the mirror, her smiling eyes sparkled with excitement, and her eyes sparkled with hope. Look left, look right, look at the front face, then look at the side face, with a smile at the corners of the eyes and eyebrows. Suddenly, the scene of Xiao Lijian chasing her with a knife appeared before his eyes. Immediately, the smile on the girl's face in the mirror stiffened, and the light in her eyes also dissipated. Perhaps subconsciously, she identified the beauty of the original owner and Xiao Lijian's concept of "destroy if you don't get it" as a causal relationship. If the original owner wasn't so beautiful, would he have been entangled by scoundrels? Most likely not. Is it easy for the other party to let go of breaking up? I think so. Too beautiful, maybe it's not a good thing. When Tang Wenxiu arrived at the cafeteria was closing its stalls. "How did you come? There's nothing left." The new rice seller pointed to the bare counter and asked him to take a look. "It's Dr. Tang. There are also a few pork and celery-filled buns." "Wait a moment, I'll go get them for you." Master Lu from the cafeteria used to come to him for medical treatment. He took out a bag of buns from a canvas bag and handed it to Tang Wenxiu. Master Lu was originally planning to take it home, but now he has given it all to Tang Wenxiu. Usually, the leftover food from the cafeteria counter cannot be used for the next meal, and throwing it away is too wasteful and regrettable. Therefore, the cafeteria workers pack and take it away. "Thank you, Master Lu." Tang Wenxiu walked up the 6th floor step by step with his steamed buns. Knocking on the door and shouting Xia Min's name, "Xia Min. It's me." He himself was strange, Xia Min's name was called so freely, so smoothly, without any sense of unfamiliarity. The door opened, and Xia Min smiled and took the steamed bun from his hand. Natural and tacit, just like old friends. "The buns are a bit cold, I'll go get a pot of hot water." He picked up the thermos from the table and went to the water room to get some water. Bringing hot water, the two sat opposite each other at the small desk. Let's eat with hot water. He poured a cup of hot water and placed it in front of her. Then I also poured a cup myself. Thank you. She picked up the bun and took a bite, smiling brightly. Meat buns are so delicious. The buns in our cafeteria are all filled with big meat. You eat more, I bought a lot, he said proudly. The food in their cafeteria is indeed good, with at least one meal of meat buns per week. She responded and picked up another bun. Two people are eating steamed buns while drinking hot water. I didn't speak for a moment. Speaking is okay, but when silence subsides, even the air is breeding ambiguity. They all felt it, didn't dare to look at each other, and were all eating steamed buns in silence. The girl I met at your house is your girlfriend, right? Xia Min broke the silence first. It's my previous girlfriend who broke up for 6 months, he corrected her. She seems unwilling to break up, she glanced at him. Yes, he responded briefly without saying a word. He seemed unwilling to discuss this topic, so Xia Min didn't ask again. Then there was silence. When there were still 2 buns left, he stopped eating them. She picked up a thermos and refilled half a glass of water, then refilled her glass with water. He picked up his cup and took a few sips of water, then slowly put it down and said. It's often said that it's easy to get together and easy to break up, but in fact, many times it's easy to get together and difficult to get apart. If both parties are tired of each other, then it's also easy to get together and break up. If one party just wants to break up, but the other party is unwilling, it's a headache. He felt it, and it was like this between him and Li Xuanli. Tang Wenxiu's words reached Xia Min's heart, so he blurted out, "You're absolutely right. It's not easy to get together and have a good conversation." Sigh. Men are so scary. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Taking the Key. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Taking the Key. Tang Wenxiu smiled and said, "Don't hit too hard, Xiao Lijian is an exception." Xia Min felt embarrassed and said, "I'm sorry. I got angry with Xiao Lijian." Tang Wenxiu comforted her and said, "Although it's an isolated case, being met by anyone is a very frustrating thing. There are some breakups and entanglements, but it's really rare for them to make it to the point of chasing each other with a knife. Don't be afraid, if he continues to persistently entangle, you can call the police." Xia Min shook her head repeatedly and said, "Who dares to report to the police? Reporting to the police will provoke him. If he can't find me, then maybe he will go and harm my mother." Tang Wenxiu frowned and said with hatred, "If he continues to intensify, come find me and I will teach this bastard a lesson." Xia Min quickly waved her hand and said, "No. No, no. Don't intervene. He has a weapon, and you can't beat him. He will hurt you." Tang Wenxiu sneered, "Don't worry. He's just a paper tiger. A truly capable man wouldn't bully women." After speaking, he raised his wrist to look at his watch and said, "You rest. I'll come over tomorrow morning to take you to the station." Then I'll trouble you, thank you." She sincerely thanked him, but did not refuse to see him off. "Close the door, lock it inside." He walked out of the room, turned around and reminded her, smiled slightly, waved his hand, "Goodbye." "Goodbye." She also smiled and waved, but a hint of shyness appeared in her eyes. Although it was just a moment, he caught it. She is really nervous again. He had a strong energy on his body, and just now he was covered by his powerful magnetic field. She didn't feel afraid. And his departure, like losing his protective umbrella, once again brought panic to his heart. She locked the door inside and sat back where she had just sat. She poured herself a glass of water and drank it slowly, calming her mood. After Tang Wenxiu closed her door, he didn't immediately leave, but gently knocked on the door of the neighboring room 601. This room is occupied by his colleague Dr. Lu Hai. He wants the bangs to be taken care of. Repeatedly tapping, there was no response inside. After calculating the schedule, he patted his head and realized that bangs are on the night shift tonight. So he ran downstairs and arrived at the reception room. The reception room has a telephone, and residents can make free city calls. Picking up the phone and dialing to the nurse station in the surgical inpatient department, he spoke very quickly and said, "Xiao Jiang, go see if Dr. Lu Hai is available to answer the phone at this moment." "Dr. Tang, please wait a moment, I'll be there right away." Duty nurse Xiao Jiang immediately arrived at the doctor's office. Coincidentally, Lu Hai was writing a medical record. "Dr. Lu. Dr. Tang is calling for you." "Oh. Okay." As soon as Lu Hai walked over and picked up the microphone, Tang Wenxiu's urgent voice came over. "Is it Bangs?" "It's me. Senior brother, feel free to say anything." The two are college alumni, and Tang Wenxiu enrolled with his Bangs 1 year earlier, making him his senior brother. Lu Hai thought that Tang Wenxiu was calling to arrange for an acquaintance to be hospitalized. Their hospital, brain surgery, is well known in China and the beds are never enough. I didn't expect Tang Wenxiu to come to him for accommodation. "Is your dormitory key in your pocket?" "I need it tonight," Tang Wen said. "So, did you forget your room key?" "Don't talk nonsense, just tell me if you have the key with you." The two of them are very familiar and never polite when speaking. Hee. How can you not carry the key with you? However, I still want to know why you don't live in your own room. Okay. I'll go get the key. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Tang Wenxiu didn't hesitate, put down the phone, and headed straight to the inpatient department of the 3rd hospital. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Being a bodyguard all night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Being a bodyguard all night. After obtaining the key to room 601 from the Bangs, Tang Wenxiu knocked on the door of room 602. Afraid of startling Xia Min, the knocking on the door was very gentle. "Xia Min, I am Tang Wenxiu." Despite this, the initial knocking on the door still startled Xia Min. At the opening of the door, Xia Min, whose face was somewhat pale, caught Tang Wenxiu's eye. Quickly regained its blood color and burst into a smile. "Come in." She looked at him with a smile on her face. Tang Wenxiu did not enter the room, and he stood at the door obediently, admonishing. "My colleague Dr. Lu lives next door. I came back to tell you that if there is a situation, you can knock on the wall and call out to Dr. Lu. The wall is not soundproof, and he can hear it. I have already instructed Dr. Lu's side." She felt a surge of heat in her heart and said, "Thank you. You've taken the trouble." This news reassured Xia Min. Dr. Tang's colleague lives next door, just like a bodyguard. "Then I'll go back." "You close the door," he said. "Aha." After watching her close the door, Tang Wenxiu went downstairs to the reception room. "I called my family and said I had to temporarily switch to a night shift with someone else, so I won't go home at night. This situation has occurred before." His parents felt that he deliberately avoided Li Xuanli and switched classes with others, so they didn't ask any further questions. Just asking him if he has eaten yet. "I've eaten it. I ate it in the cafeteria." "Okay. Hurry up and get busy with your work. Pay attention to rest." Tang Wenxiu turned back to the 6th floor, lightly opened the door of room 601, and slept next to Xia Min. That night, his eyes were wide open and he didn't feel sleepy at all. I picked up a novel on the bedside table with Bangs and flipped through it. Occasionally glance at the partition wall. On the other side of the wall, there is a single bed placed against the wall, and Xia Min sleeps on that bed. His vigorous energy, as well as his magnetic field, seemed to penetrate the wall and linger beside Xia Min. This night, Xia Min slept soundly. She didn't know that Tang Wenxiu had been her bodyguard all night. A familiar knocking sound came from outside the door, accompanied by Tang Wenxiu's voice. Xia Min. I'm Tang Wenxiu. When she opened the door, she smelled the smell of deep-fried dough sticks. Tang Wenxiu held 2 lunch boxes with deep-fried dough sticks wrapped in brown paper, 2 paper cups and 2 pairs of convenient chopsticks. He came in laughing and put 2 lunch boxes and deep-fried dough sticks on the small desk in the room. Come on. Eat while it's hot. They're all freshly cooked. He gestured for her to sit down, while he went to wash his hands. When he returned, Xia Min sat at the table, waiting for him. Xia Min opens her lunchbox, and the sweet smell of soybean milk spreads again. Put deep-fried dough sticks on the lid of the lunchbox. Wow. It smells good. Tang Wenxiu poured the soybean milk from the lunchbox into the cup, handed Xia Min a pair of chopsticks, smiled and looked at her and said, "Eat." Xia Min, who had slept well all night, was even more radiant. He couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. Xia Min only eats deep-fried dough sticks. Deep-fried dough sticks are golden and soft. They look attractive and taste more delicious. Xia Min ate 3 or 4 at once. After drinking all the soybean milk in the cup, Xia Min leans on her cheek and watches him eat. Relax and eat, it's delicious. I slept well last night and slept until dawn, he said softly. He smiled and said, that's right. Don't always make yourself so nervous. Xiao Lijian doesn't have 1,000-mile eyes and can't find you anytime. The two finished their meal and walked towards the train station. They arrived at the train station by bus. Xia Min bought a slow train ticket to Yushitan and went to the countryside in Yushitan. Turning his head to him, he asked, "Can I buy a platform ticket?" She was worried that Xiao Lijian would block her at the platform, and hoped that Tang Wenxiu could enter the platform and escort her onto the train. "It's necessary." Tang Wenxiu smiled at her and handed her the 50 cents in his hand. "I have money." Xia Min pushed away his hand and bought a platform ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Don't be afraid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Don't be afraid. Arriving at the waiting room, Xia Min's eyes were not enough. She looked around vigilantly, searching for Xiao Lijian's figure. Tang Wenxiu patted her shoulder and said, "Tell me his appearance and characteristics, and I'll help you pay attention." His name is Xiao Lijian. He is 1.8 meters tall, thin, and has a slightly dark skin. He doesn't wear glasses and leans across a yellow backpack. There is a murder weapon inside the backpack. He nodded, his falcon-like eyes searching through the crowd. I think this feature is still easy to notice, just the yellow backpack is very eye-catching, and now there are not many people crossing the yellow backpack diagonally. After his sharp gaze scanned the waiting room, he locked his gaze on the entrance. Coincidentally, Xiao Lijian walked in. So he nudged her and said, "Do you see the man with a yellow backpack at the entrance?" She looked over and immediately hid behind him. "Oh my! It's him. Don't be afraid." He comforted her and continued to gaze at Xiao Lijian. Xiao Lijian walked into the waiting room and began a carpet-style inspection. The man walked sideways in front of the seat, his eyes full of murderous intent like knives. Quickly approaching the spot where Xia Min was sitting, Xia Min was so scared that she hid her head behind him. To be precise, her entire upper body leaned against his back. Trembling, he said, "Oh my goodness. He's coming this way." He patted her and said, "With me around, don't be afraid." But Xia Min was so scared that the mouse trembled all over when it saw a cat. The more scared she was, the closer she pressed against him, and he could feel her body temperature and shiver. The restlessness in his heart flashed by, and all his attention fell on Xiao Lijian again. "Passengers, comrades. The passenger train bound for Yushitan has started ticket checking. Please queue up to check your tickets." The station's high-pitched horn sounded, and people rushed towards the ticket gate. Xiao Lijian also moved his steps towards the ticket gate. Tang Wenxiu turned around and helped Xia Min, who was trembling, sit back, holding her in his arms and covering her face with his arms. They looked like a couple in a passionate relationship. Tang Wenxiu stared at Xiao Lijian not far away while gently tapping Xia Min, who was about to collapse from fear. Fortunately, that scoundrel man only stared at the ticket-checking passengers and didn't notice Tang Wenxiu and Xia Min. After the ticket gate closed, he left. It's okay. He's gone. Tang Wenxiu withdrew his arm. Xia Min still dared not look up or open her eyes, her head drilling behind him like a frightened rabbit. He then took her back into his arms. The palm lightly patted her back, and the gaze fell on the large screen in front of her. On the big screen is a scrolling train timetable. After a while, her mood calmed down. Thank you. She blushed and withdrew from him, her body also retreating outward. Are you still going to retrieve the files today? He asked. She shook her head and smiled bitterly. The cars have all passed. Are you in a hurry? He asked. Yes. I can't report without a file. I've been procrastinating for half a month now, and I don't know how many more days it will take. Xiao Lijian will definitely come back, and I estimate these days won't pass. He pondered and said, I have a way for you to take the bus today. What's the solution? She looked at him with hopeful eyes. There will be an express passing by Yeshitan soon. The express does not stop at Yeshitan Station. You can take this express and get off at Mingshan Station, which is 5 kilometers away from Yeshitan. Then walk to Yeshitan, which is not too far and can be reached in just over an hour. Are you familiar with that section of the road? Luckily, you may be able to stop a car. End of this chapter.